thank you to Bridge Multimedia, Little Orchestra Society, and all the MakerFest participants. Our first seminar of the day we're moving into is called STEAM with Families at Boston Children's Museum. It's presented by Michelle D'Asco and Saki Iwamoto. They're going to talk about how the STEAM team at Boston Children's Museum engages young learners, including children with special needs, in open-ended play and exploration that helps them develop STEAM skills and habits of the mind. We'll have a live Q&A afterwards, and we'll try to take as many questions as possible. Welcome, Michelle and Saki.
And now, STEMIEFest is pleased to welcome Michelle D'Asco, MED, STEAM Program Manager, and Saki Iwamoto, Health and Wellness Educator from the Boston Children's Museum. Their presentation is titled STEAM with Families at Boston Children's Museum.
Hi, my name is Saki, and I'm the Health and Wellness Educator at Boston Children's Museum.
My name is Michelle. I am the STEAM Program Manager at Boston Children's Museum.
Boston Children's Museum has been part of the Boston community since 1913, which makes us the second oldest children's museum in the world. The museum welcomes about 560,000 visitors each year. However, of course, this year will be very different because of the pandemic. Our programs and exhibits are generally designed to meet the development and learning needs of children from birth to 10 years old.
Saki and I are hoping to share with you some of the key ideas and approaches behind the ways we develop and frame STEAM activities. We will also talk about the role adults can play in supporting children in their learning at the museum.
As an informal learning environment, the museum offers unique experiences for children and families where they can follow their own interests and explore at their own pace. Many of our exhibits and programs focus on the process of learning instead of the end results. And we prioritize exploration and play as two essential processes for learning. In the museum's approach, learning is defined as an active, multisensory process that is directed by the learners, the children. The museum educators are here to support the learning process for each child and encourage many different ways children can learn in their own ways. Based on this approach, a lot of our programs, especially ones that are aimed for children under 5, are open-ended and support a child's choice and agency. For example, we may give children a bunch of yarn to play with, and we may see a child weaving. Some children may want to feel the texture of various types of yarn in their hands, while others may try to tangle up the yarn to make a spider web. All of these ways to engage and explore are valid and important, and children can develop many of their foundational skills that will promote their future school and life readiness. I've been referring to our visitors as children, but about 50% of our visitors are actually adults who come with those children, and we consider those adult visitors as learners too. In many learning environments, children are often judged and evaluated for their successes and failures based on predetermined criteria and structures that are set by adults. However, in the museum, we put children at the center of the learning experience, and adults can engage with their children to learn what they're interested in and capable of doing. Going back to the example about the yarn, adults often set up their minds that there is a correct way of doing things. They may think neatly weaving the yarn is the right thing to do, and if their children start to do something else, they might feel that their children are doing something wrong. Or they might have some specific learning agenda in mind, such as learning the colors of the yarn. But the child may be more interested in rolling a ball of yarn on the floor and not respond to the questions about the colors. That could be frustrating and feel like a failure for the adult. However, if we actually pay attention to what the child is doing, the child might be fascinated by how the yarn ball unravels as they roll it, which is in fact a very exciting learning moment. This especially speaks true to many children with special needs, who may find it challenging to fit within a scripted norm. But if we can actually let them follow their passion and find their own interests, their world can widen, and they can find their own way of learning for their future success.
At Boston Children's Museum, we facilitate STEAM programming in many ways. We have a STEAM lab where we host a variety of programs for visitors. Additionally, we facilitate STEAM programming throughout other parts of the museum, including various exhibits that have a STEAM focus, and some pop-up programs that happen in different spots around the museum. For example, STEAM Sprouts is a drop-in program, meaning visitors are welcome to stop by for any amount of time, that runs for 1 hour a week, engaging children 3 and under in STEAM. Activities in this program include exploring magnets and wind exploration through testing out various materials in front of a fan. Messy Monday is another weekly drop-in program which is open to all of our visitors, with special attention paid to ensure even our very young visitors can engage in the activity using various senses. During a Messy Monday activity, visitors might be encouraged to explore natural materials, such as mud and water, or they may paint with different textured objects. These activities provide opportunities to explore, play, and yes, get a little messy. In all of these spaces and programs, as Saki said, our focus is more on the process of learning than a specific end result. It is common for adults to ask how a certain activity we are doing qualifies as STEAM, and they want their child to get the right answer or do the right thing. That is, to do the thing they are presented with. However, particularly because we work with very young learners and their caregivers, we use a different lens in our programs. In any of the STEAM programming we do in the museum, our major goals for the programming are the development of STEAM habits of mind and skills. STEAM habits of mind, as we define them, are ways of thinking that are reflected in behavior. We have identified 5 major habits of mind, which are curiosity, critical thinking, creativity, persistence, and problem solving. Additionally, we focus on 9 STEAM skills or abilities. These are analytical reasoning, investigating, making connections, experimenting, communicating, collaboration, developing craft, envisioning, and perspective taking. While this might feel like a lot, this is what we consider as we design our STEAM programs. The habits of mind and skills are intertwined like a web. They support each other and are further strengthened and developed as a whole. Certain programs focus on specific habits of mind and skills, but there may be others that you see as well. These habits of mind and skills will support young learners as they explore, learn, and continue with STEAM initiatives in the future. Let's think back to the yarn example Saki mentioned. In this scenario, a child comes to a collaborative drop-in program where they are presented with a lot of yarn attached to the windows and walls that made a big spider web. They can add to or interact with the yarn spider web in any way they would like. Which STEAM habits of mind and skills do you think are being practiced in this activity in any way that a child might interact with the yarn? Please take a moment to reflect on which habits of mind and skills you think are focused on in an activity where visitors are exploring with yarn. Okay, what did you come up with? We feel that persistence is a key habit of mind, especially if a child decides to weave a long piece of yarn through the web. Investigating is a key skill in this activity. Maybe they realize that one type of yarn is thicker than another. Maybe they find that they can tie the yarn into knots. Or maybe one is easier to hold or weave with. Also, collaboration. They'll be adding to the yarn spider web with their family group and even with other visitors. While they explore, the adult might also be exploring beside them, and they can show each other what they're working on. And you might see others that come into play as well. As another example, when exploring magnets, children are given a variety of materials and magnets. And those materials are both magnetic and non-magnetic, which promotes curiosity and experimentation. And in another program we do frequently, called Balls and Tubes, children are given a variety of balls, tubes, and boards to explore. In this, they're developing persistence and problem-solving skills through their investigations. Visitors are given a general, open-ended context in these programs. Ultimately, the child goes in a certain direction, and we go with them, even if it's not what we originally planned for or expected. We model and encourage adults to engage with their child wherever they are in their explorations, asking their child to make predictions, describe what they notice, and imagine different possibilities and solutions. We can trust the child to find their own skills and define their own goals. Particularly in the case of working with children with special needs, we, as adults, often focus too much on what they cannot do. However, they can actually do a lot of things in their own ways and often surprise us with how they find ways to interact and play, which is an asset for both the child and the adult to embrace. Part of our role as educators in the museum is to support adults in helping to release any ideas they have about the way an activity or experience should be, and instead affirm for them that any way the activity or experience goes is great and helps us all better understand and celebrate the capabilities of a child.
Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about STEAM and young learners at Boston Children's Museum. We hope hearing about some of our approaches to activity development and supporting adults can inform some of your work in whatever context you may connect with children.
We invite you to ask us any questions at the live Q&A session.